Snow across the southeast on Sunday. But the bigger story is what comes after. We re-entering a pattern that could deliver multiple winter weather events through the end of January. Let's break down what's happening now and what's ahead. Right now, conditions across the country show the kind of contrast that sets up these situations. Eastern Colorado saw temperatures drop to 17 degrees this morning. Wind chills down to 5 degrees. That is Arctic air and it's on the move. Compare that to the Gulf Coast. From Texas through Louisiana into Mississippi, it's been warm and humid. Temperatures running 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Mississippi dealt with tornado warnings this morning. That warm, unstable air mass has been sitting over the region all week. South Carolina has been rainy, near record warmth. Northeast Florida enjoyed perfect weather for the past 10 days. Clear skies, comfortable temperatures, all of that changes starting Sunday. Missouri has been quiet. Temperatures around 40 degrees, calm conditions. That extended mild spell ends next week when the pattern flips. South central Wisconsin was seeing rain this morning. By now, some areas are reporting snow starting to fall. That is how quickly this transition is happening. The cold air is pressing south, and when it collides with all that moisture from the Gulf, we get winter weather. Let us start with Sunday's system. This has been difficult to forecast. Models have disagreed significantly over the past 72 hours. Some keep it almost entirely rain. Others, including the European model, which historically performs well with these setups, show accumulating snow as far south as the Florida Panhandle. The European model from 18Z today shows snow beginning Sunday morning across southern Georgia and the western Panhandle of Florida. Not just flurries, moderate to heavy rates at times. The snow extends northward to Columbia, South Carolina, and Augusta, Georgia by midday Sunday. Here's what makes this complicated. The cold air is coming from two directions. It's pressing down from the north, which you'd expect, but it's also sweeping in from the west underneath the Appalachian Mountains. That shallow, dense Arctic air hits the higher elevations and creates a lag effect east of the mountains. So you get this unusual situation where it's snowing in southern Georgia while areas further north in the Carolinas are still seeing rain. The cold air can dip under the mountains and hit the moisture faster in the south. East of the mountains, there's a delay. By Sunday afternoon, the European model shows snow falling in Savannah, Charleston, and areas of the low country. Moderate rates. The cold air finally works into eastern North Carolina later in the day, but by then the heaviest moisture has moved through. The GFS model tells a similar story. It is slightly more aggressive with snow coverage, shows accumulating snow reaching into southeast Alabama by Sunday morning. Heavy snow across southern Georgia. Valdosta could see a legitimate snowstorm. They had one almost exactly a year ago. This would be 2 winter storms in 12 months for an area that typically goes years between events. The GFS brings snow all the way to the southern suburbs of Atlanta by late morning. Rain changes to snow across the South Carolina Midlands around midday. Charlotte sees light snow by early afternoon. The heaviest axis stays further south. Looking at the 4-run trend on the GFS, we see the classic northwest shift. This happens with overrunning events consistently. Cold air on the model runs tends to perform better as we get closer to the event. The precipitation shield has been trending west with each successive run. Can this reach Atlanta, Birmingham, Chattanooga, Greenville, Spartanburg? Absolutely. The question is how far northwest this continues to trend and whether the heaviest moisture can time up with the coldest air. The NAM model, one of our short-range tools, shows a tight corridor of heavy, wet snow. This isn't the dry, fluffy snow some areas saw last year when temperatures were in the low 20s. This will be classic southern snow. Wet, heavy, large flakes. You can go from rain to heavy snowfall in minutes if dynamic cooling sets up in the right location. Surface temperatures are a concern for some. Tomorrow, Saturday, temperatures across the southeast will hit 60 degrees in many areas. Then 12 to 18 hours later, it's snowing. That is this setup. The cold air aloft arrives first. Snowflakes fall through a shallow, warm layer near the surface. If rates are heavy enough, dynamic cooling brings surface temperatures down rapidly. The 3-kilometer NAM shows snow beginning as early as 4 a.m. Sunday across parts of the Piedmont. Greensboro, Raleigh, Charlotte all see rain trying to change to snow by mid-morning. Columbia and Augusta are right on the edge. By 10 a.m., it is snowing across a swath from Columbia through Raleigh to Charlotte. Heavy at times. The window is only a couple hours for some locations, but a couple hours of heavy wet snow can produce an inch or more quickly. Now, not all models agree. The HRR model stays much further southeast, shows barely any blue on the map. The moisture doesn't make it far enough west to encounter the cold air in that scenario, so it is all rain. That is a possibility we have to acknowledge. The RRFS model shows rain across most areas, then tries to flip some locations to snow late Sunday morning across southeast Alabama and central Georgia. It's hard to take that solution seriously when it keeps areas that should clearly be cold enough as rain. But it does eventually show heavy accumulating snow further north Sunday night. The latest European run from 18Z shows the precipitation starting to blossom back west slightly. It has turned into a longer duration event compared to earlier runs. That actually works in favor of snow chances. The longer you can delay the storm into Sunday, the more time the cold air has to work in. Bump the timing deeper into the day, and that helps. The 540 line, that is the rain-snow line at 5,000 feet, doesn't change much position on the latest run, but the precipitation intensifies back toward the northwest. Very interesting evolution. For snowfall totals, the National Weather Service forecast shows a small area over South Carolina with accumulation potential, a few tenths of an inch across parts of the state. They recalling for an inch or two in the mid-Atlantic, particularly the Tidewater region of Virginia, and they show a highlighted area in central Georgia where they reforecasting an inch of snow. The European model from 18Z delivers an inch to an inch and a half across central to south central Georgia. Then it abruptly stops at the South Carolina border and shows only dusting amounts further north in the Carolinas. There is a secondary area of accumulation across northeast North Carolina. The European ensemble, which averages 51 different model runs to create a mean forecast, shows a signal for snow across Georgia. An inch of accumulation getting pretty far north. The ensemble is one of the most reliable tools for this time frame. It shows a gap in accumulation, then another area of enhanced snowfall further north. The GFS delivers 2 to 3 inches across portions of Georgia. Valdosta in that 2 to 3 inch range. It cuts off sharply once you get into central South Carolina, similar to the European model. The GFS ensemble doesn't look as impressive. Shows a highlighted area across the mid-Atlantic and southern Georgia with a gap in between. That could be how it plays out. The NAM is aggressive, shows a swath of several inches of heavy wet snow extending into the South Carolina Midlands, Columbia in the 2 to 2.5 inch range. But look at how narrow the band is. It cuts off right at the Charlotte metro area. Northern Mecklenburg County gets nothing. 20 miles south in Monroe, 3 inches. That kind of sharp cutoff is possible with these setups. The 12-kilometer NAM is less aggressive in Georgia, shows half-inch to inch totals scattered across the region, but across North Carolina, southeast Virginia, into southern Maryland and Delaware, it delivers a swath of 2 to 5 inches, still showing snow in those areas at the end of its run. Let me talk about the energy driving this system. We've managed to trend the upper-level energy further west over the past few days. The trough is positively tilted. That means the axis of the trough tilts from southwest to northeast. When a trough has a positive tilt, the dynamics are weaker. If the tilt were neutral, straight up and down, the storm would be stronger. If it went negative, tilting from southeast to northwest, you'd have a much more impactful system. We're not getting close to that with this one. This energy stays positively tilted as it moves through. It's a weak progressive system. But weak systems can still produce. They just require everything to come together precisely. Timing has to be right. Moisture has to be in the right place. Cold air has to arrive on schedule. So what do I think happens? I am confident areas of Georgia see accumulating snow, maybe even the Florida Panhandle. Somewhere in those areas I showed you gets an inch or two of wet snow. I think there's another jackpot area somewhere in northeast North Carolina into the mid-Atlantic. Richmond, Norfolk, areas of the Delmarva Peninsula. The big question mark is the I-95 corridor from Raleigh down through Columbia and over to Charlotte. Do we struggle with cold air lag? The moisture will be there, especially around Columbia. There's plenty of moisture. But does the cold air arrive in time? It's a tough call. I'm not going to give you a definitive forecast on this one. There's a chance for accumulation. There's a chance it stays all rain. The National Weather Service, if they being honest, probably doesn't know exactly how this plays out either. This system is extremely challenging. Hopefully we get a surprise. Some locations could wake up Sunday morning to more snow than expected, but I am ready to move past this system and talk about what's next, because the pattern we re-entering looks incredibly active. Maryland, I know many of you have been waiting for snow. 2 years without a major storm in some areas. This pattern shift has real potential. Don't get discouraged if Sunday doesn't deliver. There are multiple opportunities coming. Let's look at the upper level pattern starting Monday. We have our Sunday system swinging through, then a large trough digs down across the central United States. It doesn't dig super aggressively south, but it's substantial. This is Monday's time frame. We have a big spiking ridge building all the way into Alaska. That's what we call a negative EPO, Eastern Pacific Oscillation. When Alaska warms up and we maintain that positive PNA, Pacific North America pattern, it dislodges Arctic air and sends it streaming south. Another blast of very cold air moves across the middle and eastern portions of the country early next week, nastier than what we see Sunday. For the extreme south, there may be a brief moderation period. You can see a broad ridge trying to develop across the southern tier, but up top, the trough remains. That funnels continued cold through the northern states. This creates an active storm track right at the boundary between the trough and the ridge. We re-entering a very active pattern. Multiple systems are going to track along that boundary over the next week to 10 days. There has been a trend over the past 24 hours. 6 to 7 days out, around next Thursday and Friday, models have been breaking open the ridge across the southern tier. The trough has been trending further south with each run. That means colder air. That means the storm track shifts south. You need to watch next week closely. This is inside 7 days now. This is not long-range speculation. We were going to be locked into something else right after Sunday's system, and we'll have to analyze everything over the weekend. The ridge tries to flex back around the 7 to 10 day mark. Then another strong signal for a trough over the eastern United States appears. That is a cold and dry look initially, but we have time for it to trend. That run goes out to the morning of January 31st. We are still on January 17th. We have so much winter left. Let's talk temperatures. How does all that upper level pattern translate to what you feel? Later this weekend, Sunday's storm brings a shot of cold air. Gets very cold again after tomorrow's warm up across the south. Enjoy Saturday's mild temperatures. Early next week, Monday into Tuesday, another shot of very cold air arrives. These are significant cold anomalies. 20 to 25 degrees below average across large sections of the country. For late January, which is climatologically the coldest time of winter for most areas across the lower 48, having temperatures 5 to 30 degrees below average is serious cold. That cold lingers. You get a brief warm-up attempt midweek. Some warmer colors show up on the temperature anomaly maps. But does it even warm up? By next Thursday, it starts cooling right back down. The warm-up across the south gets cut short. Look how cold it gets at the end of the model run. I am not trying to pat myself on back here, but I said a few weeks ago we'd have a risk of significant Arctic air in the second half of January. Maybe an all-out Arctic outbreak. I am more confident in that now than ever. That is a cold look for late January standards. The cold air bleeds even further south at 300 hours out. Very cold. I can talk about cold air all day. But what about moisture? What about winter weather opportunities? Let's look at the jet stream at 200 millibars. That's 35 to 40,000 feet up, the jet stream corridor. Our storm track. Moving into late next week, you see highlighted areas of orange and red across the jet. That's an active storm track. It gets even more active between day 7 and day 10. This is next weekend, Sunday the 26th. That's a time frame I am watching. The atmosphere is going to be locked and loaded with an active pattern. Let me show you what that looks like with precipitation. We'll start with the central United States, then move to the eastern states. Wednesday morning, next Wednesday, there's already a bit of snow showing up across Arkansas and western Tennessee on the European model. Move past that to a week from today. A huge area of moisture gets thrown across the plains into the Midwest and Mississippi Valley. A significant ice storm shows up on the model. Not a forecast, but areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas into the Mid-South. heavy ice, snow on top of it. The pink is freezing rain. Then it moves into the eastern United States. Watch that carefully. It's not 300 hours out anymore. This is sneaking up. The GFS shows something similar but gets it going earlier. Next Thursday morning, the 22nd, it shows a wintry mess from Oklahoma through Kansas and Missouri. Don't focus on specifics yet. We'll get there. Cold air is pressing down on the system. Next Friday, next Saturday, into next Sunday, the GFS shows the same system the European has. A large amount of moisture overrunning Arctic air. A huge wintry scenario develops. Then it moves into the eastern states. The pattern continues active past 10 days. For the eastern United States, where most of you are, we need to watch an event midway through next week, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Moisture develops. This is during that brief moderation period, but it's still cold enough for snow as far south as northern Alabama and northern Mississippi on the European model. A swath of accumulating snow through Tennessee, hitting the mountains, trying to show snow in northern North Carolina into the mid-Atlantic. Move past that system. A massive winter storm breaks out across the Mid-South, Midwest, and Appalachians. Cold air comes in behind it. The model shows an ice storm across the Carolinas, winter storm to the north. That's a nasty, icy look as we get into next Sunday and Monday, not a forecast. But it's a time frame we re-watching closely. I said by Martin Luther King Day, which is Monday, we'd already be talking about another time frame. It is nonstop right now. The model continues showing cold air digging down. Snow all the way to Myrtle Beach at 300 hours. Again, not a forecast. The GFS agrees. Start with next Wednesday. Next Wednesday evening, the event is more amplified and warmer on the GFS. Next Thursday evening shows snow across the Ohio Valley, Midwest, wintry mess across Tennessee. Cold trying to press down. That system leaves, then the same system the European showed. Cold air pressing down. This is a cold air damming event. This is how we score east of the mountains. Shows another massive wintry area across the eastern United States. Orange is sleet. Pink is freezing rain. A huge winter storm across the entire region. It's almost a carbon copy of the European model. Same time frame. Massive winter storm across everything you see in pink, orange, and blue. Anything after that? Another event. It looks very active. The Climate Prediction Center's Day 6 through 10 outlook tries to indicate a brief warm-up across the south, but northern sections of the country look cold. Confidence is very high. The further north you go, almost the entire country looks moist. Everybody's talking cold and dry. Well, the official outlook says it is about to get moist. That backs up everything I just showed you. The 8 to 14 day outlook, January 24th through 30th, shows chances of below average temperatures spreading south, chances of above average precipitation across the east. The new 3 to 4 week outlook from January 31st through mid-February keeps cold air across the northeast, mid-Atlantic, upper southeast, and Midwest. This is going to be an extremely cold winter across the northern tier. Let's look at snowfall risk. The Weather Prediction Center shows a slight risk of heavy snow extending all the way down to Tennessee and the southern Appalachians. That is a pretty large area. What really gets my attention is the several-day time frame, even a few-day period. I think all of this adjusts as we get closer. Why does it look so cold? We need to talk about the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation. Phases 6, 5, and 4 are generally warm phases. Phase 3 can work for winter weather. Phase 7 is a transition. Phases 8, 1, and 2 are cold and wintry phases. Where are we now? We in Phase 6 currently, which is interesting because we were about to get a winter weather event across the southeast in Phase 6. Over the next few days, we move into Phase 7. We stay there for only 3 or 4 days, then almost all guidance shows us reaching Phase 8. The golden phase for winter weather and cold across the central and eastern United States. We stay there for the entire last week of January and beyond. High latitude blocking, favorable teleconnections, blocking out west, blocking up north, a favorable MJO progression. To me, this points to an excellent period for winter weather enthusiasts. We not done. If you don't get snow this Sunday across the southeast, don't get discouraged, don't get angry. There are going to be other opportunities, multiple opportunities over the next 2 weeks. I want to address something. When I show you model guidance in these videos, it's not a forecast. When I show you graphics from the National Weather Service with their forecast amounts, those are actual forecasts from meteorologists. Human forecasts, everything else is model guidance. I done to create my own snowfall maps for individual states. I done to make official forecasts. I show you what the models indicate. I give you my take on what I think could happen. But I am not issuing forecasts. If you see a map showing 4 inches of snow over Raleigh, that S from the NAM model, it's not me saying Raleigh will definitely get 4 inches. It is me showing you what one particular model run indicates. I think that solution is overdone, but my opinion would be that a few inches of wet snow across that axis is possible. Very possible. The overachieving scenario is what some of these models show. The underachieving scenario is that everyone gets all rain. I don't think staying completely dry is likely. If you reforecast to stay dry, you probably will. Atlanta, Greenville, Spartanburg, even Charlotte and Greensboro, most guidance keeps you dry on Sunday. I appreciate all of you. I mean that. Part of what I do involves getting some criticism, and I take full responsibility for that. But when I am speaking, try to take in what I am saying in the correct way. I'll continue working on relaying information as clearly as possible. The bottom line for Sunday: Georgia sees accumulating snow, high confidence. The Florida Panhandle has a chance. The Carolinas are complicated. Cold air lag is a real issue. Some areas see accumulation, some stay rain. The Mid-Atlantic, particularly Northeast North Carolina into Virginia and Maryland, has good potential for accumulation. Beyond Sunday, we re-entering one of the most active patterns I've seen this winter. Multiple systems over the next 10 to 14 days. Significant cold. Real winter weather opportunities extending well into February. Wisconsin, you are already seeing the transition from rain to snow. By tomorrow, this system is underway. The Gulf Coast, your warm, humid pattern ends Sunday. Arctic air arrives. That temperature whiplash you've been dealing with, the back and forth that has had people sick for weeks, that stabilizes with sustained cold moving in. For those in Florida who aren't used to this kind of cold, multiple thin layers work better than trying to find a heavy coat most of you don't own. No judgment. It's just not typical equipment in your region. Check official forecasts from the National Weather Service for your specific area. They'll have the most detailed local information. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another update before Sunday's system arrives. We'll see how overnight model runs trend. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, if Sunday doesn't deliver for your location, we've